My daughter surprised us with her engagement to my surrogate son, 15 years her senior. My wife and I recently had a heartbreaking conversation with our 21-year-old daughter, who just announced her engagement to a man 15 years older than her, someone we've considered a surrogate son for over 2 decades. There's so much to process here, and we're feeling betrayed and confused. We need advice. My daughter's 21 years old, just graduated college, and moved out last fall. Her fiancé, the man she just announced she's marrying, is 36 years old. I'm 58, and my wife is 55. We also have 2 sons who are 17 and 22. When my children were young, we had a family friend, Mark, who tragically passed away in 2001, leaving behind a 16-year-old son, Jack. My wife and I took Jack in without hesitation, treating him as one of our own. We supported him as he finished school and helped him start a business with a generous financial gift. Over the years, Jack became like a son to us, especially since we never had a daughter ourselves. He was always part of our family babysitting, going on vacations, and attending weekly family dinners. We thought of him as our own child. Fast forward to this past Sunday, when we had a family dinner at our house. This was when my daughter dropped the bombshell. She and Jack were not only secretly dating for the past 3 years, but they were also engaged. I was shocked. To say I felt blindsided would be an understatement. My wife, sons, and I are completely devastated by this revelation. What's more disturbing is the secrecy. The fact that they managed to hide this from us for so long. The lies they had to tell. The manipulation, it's hard to comprehend. Jack, who helped raise my daughter, was now secretly in a relationship with her, and it feels utterly wrong on so many levels. I told them both, in no uncertain terms, that I couldn't support this relationship. I told Jack he was no longer welcome in my home, and that my daughter couldn't come back if she continued to see him. But now I'm torn. I realize that alienating her will only push her away further. I want to be there for my daughter, but I also feel disgusted by what she's doing. I want to help her see that this relationship is toxic, but I don't know how to reach her without losing her completely. I need help understanding how to approach this. How can I protect my daughter without completely pushing her out of my life? How can I make her see that this relationship is predatory and unhealthy, while still making her feel safe and supported? For context, Jack was a constant presence in my daughter's life. He changed her diapers, took her to the park, and was there for every milestone. They've had a complicated, almost codependent relationship for as long as I can remember. And now her fiancé, being the very person who helped raise her, is almost too much for me to bear. A lot has happened since my last post. After the engagement announcement, I tried talking to my daughter, but it didn't go as planned. She was defensive and didn't understand why we were so upset. She explained that she'd always loved Jack in a way she couldn't explain. But when I asked her about the secrecy, she broke down and admitted that they feared our reaction. She didn't know how to tell us, because she knew we'd be angry, and she didn't want to lose our approval. My wife and I, along with my sons, had so many questions. How could she not see how wrong this was? How could Jack, someone we trusted, betray us like this? But no matter what we said, she kept defending him. She even made excuses for him, claiming that the age gap didn't matter because they were both adults, and that the bond they shared was something special. Meanwhile, we found out some disturbing things about their relationship. Apparently, Jack had been sending her messages even when she was a teenager, making jokes about how he had always had his eye on her. She even confided in me that Jack had given her alcohol when she was underage and told her things that now make her feel uncomfortable, but that she had never questioned back then. It wasn't just the secrecy, it was the history between them that made everything feel even more disturbing. Jack had been a constant figure in her life, and now that relationship had shifted into something intimate. We tried to get her to see that this wasn't just a harmless romance, but her response was, "You don't understand, I love him." It's hard for me to even put into words the anger I feel, but I'm also heartbroken. I feel like I failed her in some way. I never saw this coming. Now things have escalated even further. Last night, my daughter dropped another bombshell. She's pregnant. She's already 16 weeks along. And Jack is, of course, thrilled. He wants to marry her as soon as possible. I don't even know how to respond to this. My wife is a wreck, and my sons are furious. I don't know how to be supportive in this situation. I don't want my daughter to feel abandoned, but at the same time, I can't condone this marriage. I've spoken to her about all the risks involved, emotionally and financially, and I've tried to point out the potential dangers of marrying someone she's been manipulated by 4 years. But every time I try to talk to her, she shuts me down, saying that Jack is the one person who truly understands her. Our family is split. My oldest son nearly came to blows with Jack at a family gathering, and tensions are running high. Still, we've decided to try and salvage some form of relationship with our daughter, even if it means keeping Jack out of the picture for now. We've agreed to save money for the baby, in case she eventually decides she needs to leave him, but I feel like we're walking on eggshells, afraid of losing her completely. I'm torn between wanting to protect my daughter and feeling like I'm failing her as a father. I never thought I'd be in a situation like this, where I have to choose between standing by my daughter and the intense disgust I feel toward her relationship with Jack. This whole situation has left me questioning everything, and I still don't know how to handle it. All I want is for her to be safe and happy, but I'm scared that this decision will haunt her for the rest of her life. Yesterday, we went to my daughter's apartment for an important conversation. We knew her fiancé, Lucas, works long hours on Saturdays, so it gave us the opportunity to talk. I want to first apologize to my daughter for my initial reaction. I'm embarrassed by how my anger came out. It was never my intention to make her feel unloved, but I wanted to make it clear that my primary concern has always been her safety and well-being. We spent hours talking, and there were several things she revealed that have deeply troubled me. These aren't necessarily in the order we discussed, but I'll share what stands out the most. The first thing she said really struck me. She told us she's loved Lucas since she was 14, and at the time, he was 29. She insisted they never did anything intimate until after she turned 18. However, after the engagement became public, I was contacted by concerned family members who pointed out things that, in hindsight, seemed suspicious. For example, my sister-in-law recalled a time when my daughter, one of my sons, and Lucas were at her house when my daughter was 16, and Lucas was 31. My sister-in-law mentioned hearing Lucas leave my daughter's room early in the morning. At the time, she didn't think much of it, as sometimes the kids would fall asleep in each other's rooms after watching a movie or hanging out late. Then there was another instance I couldn't ignore. My son told me about a time when he ran into my daughter and Lucas in town when she was 15, and my daughter had told us she was supposed to be in school that day. I could go on, but I had to leave out some details to avoid overwhelming you. When we asked her what it was she loved about him, her answer was telling. She listed several reasons, but one that stuck with me was how generous and caring he had always been toward her. She recalled how, on special occasions like birthdays or holidays, Lucas would give her gifts beyond what the rest of the family gave. She didn't think anything of it at the time, but he told her it was because she was always overshadowed by her brothers and deserved extra attention, which she didn't get from me or her mother. It gets worse. My daughter told us that the decision to keep the relationship a secret was mutual. They feared that if her mother and I found out, we would stop supporting her apartment and school tuition. Now that she's graduated, she said they didn't tell her friends because they didn't want to ask them to lie. But Lucas' friends were aware of everything. One of the things that really hurt was the amount of deception they had to carry out. 4 years, we had weekly dinners, and my daughter and Lucas sat across from us, pretending nothing was going on. She even went so far as to make up fake boyfriends at college, sending us photos with male friends and telling us she was dating them, all while keeping the truth hidden. She admitted she felt guilty about lying, but Lucas told her that it would all be worth it in the end. I suggested family therapy, but she declined. She insisted she didn't need it. I told her that she would always have a place in our home, but Lucas would not be welcome under our roof. She expressed a desire for Lucas and me to have a conversation, but right now, I just don't think that's a wise idea. I would appreciate any advice on how to approach this delicate situation. There have been other troubling moments I mentioned. My niece, who's the same age as my daughter, told us there were times when Lucas would come over while my wife and I were out. She remembers how my daughter and Lucas would cuddle on the couch under blankets, something that never happened when we were home. There were also times when my daughter hosted get-togethers while we were away, and Lucas would supply alcohol to everyone. My middle son, whose room is downstairs, overheard Lucas leaving our house late at night on several occasions after he had moved out and wasn't staying over. When my son asked why he was there, Lucas claimed he had left something behind at our house and needed to pick it up. This happened when my daughter was between the ages of 15 and 18. Additionally, my brother recalled a family vacation where Lucas had too much to drink. He overheard Lucas calling my daughter Princess, and at the time, my brother thought it was just a teasing nickname, but now he realizes it was a flirtatious pet name. She was only 15 at the time. At this point, I'm honestly at a loss. My daughter is 21, and I am heartbroken that she has chosen to be with someone who has crossed so many boundaries. It's clear to me now that Lucas encouraged the lies, which suggests he knew what he was doing wasn't right. I've been feeling betrayed and blindsided by everything that's come to light, but my primary concern is still my daughter's well-being. I feel completely overwhelmed by this situation. I just don't understand how someone can encourage such dishonesty and manipulate my daughter into hiding their relationship for so long. To me, it's not just a red flag, it's a flashing emergency signal. I want to be there for her, but I can't support her continuing a relationship with him. I know she's an adult, but I can't ignore the signs that something is deeply wrong. Please, any advice on how to approach this further? How to keep the communication open with my daughter, and whether family therapy might still be an option, would be greatly appreciated. The more I reflect on everything that's come to light, the more I'm convinced Lucas is not someone we should trust. His actions, the manipulation, the secrecy, it's all too much. I know this situation is complicated, and I want to handle it in a way that doesn't further alienate my daughter. But the truth is, I'm scared for her. If this turns sour, she's going to need a lot of support, and I want to make sure I'm ready to provide it. Again, thank you for all the support, and I'll keep everyone updated. Now for the update. Hello again, everyone. I want to sincerely thank everyone who took the time to offer advice and support after my initial post. My wife and I have read through every message, and while we couldn't respond to all of them, we truly appreciate your thoughts and kindness during this difficult time. It's been several weeks since my last update, and I've received numerous messages asking what has happened since. The truth is, after much deliberation, my wife and I have come to a decision that we never thought we'd be in a position to make. We've decided to accept my daughter's relationship with her fiancé. It has been one of the hardest things we've ever had to do, but we believe that for the sake of our daughter and grandchild, it's what's best right now. We've made it clear to my daughter that we think the relationship is inappropriate and are furious and devastated about when it started. I can't express enough how upset we are, especially given the circumstances surrounding their relationship. However, my daughter admitted that she and her fiancé, Lucas, opened up about their relationship and engagement because she's 16 weeks pregnant with their first child. This news has hit us hard, but we know that for the health of our daughter and our grandchild, the best thing we can do now is offer our support. My daughter has told us that she doesn't want any animosity or hostility directed toward Lucas, and while this is incredibly hard for us to accept, we're choosing to respect her wishes. We no longer plan to pursue charges against him because, at this point, we don't believe it's the best course of action for the situation. Understandably, my two sons are not happy with what's happening. There was a physical altercation between Lucas and my oldest son, but that has been settled. After speaking with all parties involved, we've agreed that everyone will behave amicably moving forward for the sake of my daughter and her child. It hasn't been easy, but we're trying to keep the peace for her. As hard as this situation has been for our family, we are doing our best to move forward and make sure our daughter knows we're here for her. We're deeply concerned about what's ahead for her and her baby. While we want our granddaughter to grow up in a loving and healthy environment, we also want our daughter to leave Lucas. It's a confusing and painful situation, and we're trying to find a balance between supporting her and still protecting her from someone who we know has taken advantage of her for years. I've had some great advice in the comments, and I want to share a few things I've been thinking about. We've opened a savings account for her, something we initially planned to use for her future home when she married. That money will now be set aside for emergency situations. We're also looking into therapy, both individual and family, because we know this goes deeper than we realized. Our daughter has been manipulated by Lucas for so long, and she's been convinced to see things in a way that makes his actions seem acceptable. This is something we need help with, as we don't want to inadvertently drive her away. The fact that Lucas encouraged her to lie to us for years has left a deep scar, and I am doing everything I can to make sure we can still have honest conversations with her. This won't be easy, and I fear that it could take years for her to see what we now know. I know some of you have suggested seeking professional help, and I agree. We've started looking into therapists who specialize in abusive relationships because this manipulation has gone on for too long. We can't just go on as if everything is fine. We need to learn how to better communicate with her so she can eventually see the truth. We've been trying to arm ourselves with the knowledge and resources to protect our daughter, but at the same time, we want to offer her the space she needs to make her own decisions. We know she's in a vulnerable place, and we're doing everything we can to be there for her, no matter how difficult it gets. Thank you again to everyone for your support and advice. It's been overwhelming, but we're trying to stay strong for our daughter and our grandchild. I know this journey is far from over, but we're committed to helping her find the strength to see the truth and hopefully, in time, to escape the manipulation and control Lucas has over her. Now for the final update. We've now opened a dedicated savings account for my daughter, which we've added over $80,000 to. This will now be saved for her emergency needs, whether she needs to escape from Lucas or make a fresh start. I just hope that she can eventually find the strength to do what's best for herself and her child. This situation has taken an emotional toll on all of us, but I want to stay hopeful that my daughter will one day be able to escape Lucas' grasp. It may take time, but I truly believe she can find a way out, and we will be here to help her when that day comes.